Here to discuss this and other pressing matters, the ranking Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Michael McCaul. Congressman, welcome to the program from Austin, Texas, one of my favorite cities. Went to school there. So let's delve in. Yeah, exactly. Hook 'em. Let's delve into this conflict and this exclusive CNN reporting that the use of their government airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, to shuttle in weaponry from neighboring Eritrea, which is against international law, to fight in the Tigray region. The U.S. has actually issued a statement, the NSC, in response to that, saying that the U.S. government is considering the full range of tools at our disposal to address the worsening crisis in northern Ethiopia, including the use of targeted economic sanctions, while mitigating unintended effects on the people of Ethiopia and the wider region. Is that an appropriate response, in your opinion? And if not, what should be?
No, I think it's very appropriate. There was an executive order issued by the President Biden, dealing with the threat of sanctions against those responsible. The chairman, and I'm the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, we have issued a statement calling upon the Biden administration to issue the sanctions moving forward. I think the latest reporting by CNN, actually well done, by the way, to uncover the fact that the Ethiopian government's using their airline to transport military weapons to Eritrea, which is a neighboring country, and becoming an ally of the government of Ethiopia against the Tigrayan population. I think to put all this in context, beyond, it's important to note this could be one of the worst famines to take place in the 21st century. The Ethiopian government has basically blocked off 90% of supply trucks going into Tigray. It's also, they've harassed aid workers, and they've expelled 7 United Nations workers. So this thing is increasing in its crisis level, not decreasing since the ceasefire. And I think it calls for action with the administration.
Well, Ethiopia, as you know, is on the receiving end of millions of dollars worth of trade benefits from the United States. The U.S. Trade Representative said that she would be willing to look at that deal now and act upon it, given these allegations and what we have even just reported, these gruesome videos that we have been covering for years, for months, thanks to Nima's reporting. Do you think that in fact, we should be reevaluating our trade agreements?
I do. And I think, there's a lot of blame to go around. The Tigrayans initially started to fight back against the government. I think, interestingly, the Prime Minister got the Nobel Peace Prize, of all things, in his ceasefire with the neighboring country of Eritrea. And now he's one of the grossest violations of potentially war crimes in what he's doing today. And so this latest reporting is very valuable to policymakers in terms of what's happening on the ground. And I think what is unfolding, again, I hearken back to days when I was growing up as a younger, high school student when we saw the famine in Ethiopia. I think this could be far worse. Right. And it could involve millions of people facing death by starvation.
Right. And I want to ask you from a business perspective, Boeing supplies many of these planes for the Ethiopian Airlines. Should they now be factoring in all of these atrocities?
Well, I think there's a corporate responsibility aspect to human rights violations and violation of the human rights of the Tigrayan population when they are being blockaded 90%. Everything's blocked off from coming in the country since July, causing millions to die from starvation. This is, I'm really glad that CNN International is reporting this. This is a really unreported story of a famine that's taking place right now in the world that most people are just not aware of. And I think the awareness piece is huge, and I call upon in a bipartisan way President Biden, the administration, to go forward with their announcement, go forward with the authorities we've given them under current law to issue these sanctions against those responsible for this human rights and humanitarian crisis. So we need to look at also whether these are war crimes against humanity and possible genocide as well.
Yeah, and you talk about the responsibility from the business community. Let me ask you about Facebook, because we heard testimony this week in Washington from the whistleblower that used to work at Facebook, Frances Haugen, who testified that Facebook is literally fanning ethnic violence in places like Myanmar and Ethiopia. Let's take a listen.
My fear is that without action, divisive and extremist behaviors we see today are only the beginning. What we saw in Myanmar and are now seeing in Ethiopia are only the opening chapters of a story so terrifying, no one wants to read the end of it. Congress can change the rules that Facebook plays by and stop the many harms it is now causing.
Congressman, do you view Facebook as a national security threat?
I think social media, in this case, when you look at what's happening in Ethiopia, social media, and whether it's in Cuba, under the Castro regime, whether it's in Iran or the Chinese Communist Party, I know we'll be talking about that in a minute, or in Russia, where people are oppressed, social media is really the best weapon we have against human rights violations, against oppression and tyranny, against freedom and democracy. And so anytime we can use social media, and Voice of America, we use them quite a bit in these countries that are oppressed. But I think to expose the truth, and particularly in this case, what's happening in Ethiopia, is very powerful.